It's good to visit other parts of the world with Chris's music. Welcome, good morning. I'm Reverend Karen Brammer. Good morning, good morning, good morning. What a delight to see you all. What a wonderful honor to be among you. So I think there are so many things that I would like to say, but I'm going to start simply by welcoming each of you, letting you know that to be here, you do not have to agree. You do not have to agree with each other. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to agree with any of the speakers who are here bringing different insights and inspirations. You don't have to live alike or look alike. We are a space and a place, and our big heart desires to allow all of our differences to be truly welcome here. And so I really do welcome you with all my heart. And also to say that we are sitting on the ancestral lands of the Haudenosaunee, and there's a display of the Haudenosaunee Thanksgiving out in the hallway on your right immediately as you come in the door. So you may want to take a look at that. It's quite a beautiful thing to tie us into remembering who we are connected to, even though we are not seeing at the moment anyway, the people whose land we are perched upon. And so there are announcements. The first I'll make is that there is a workshop following this service about staying at the table through conflict. I'll be doing that workshop. It runs from noon until 2. If you need to be a few minutes late because you're in a different meeting or something, that's fine. But we'll begin in earnest around 12 o'clock. There's another announcement that I think Deb wants to make. A coat drive. Yeah, people online can't hear you. People can't hear you. We were not objecting to coats. No.
No. So we used to do a coat drive, but I've poked around, there's a lot of coat drives. What I'm finding out, children don't have socks. They'll come in winter and no socks on their feet. So if you're out and about and you pick up a few pairs of socks and you put them in the basket in the back, I will get them to the Martin Luther King Elementary School and we'll do a sock drive, which seems to be a real need.
Primarily new socks, am I right? None with holes, probably not mismatched, although I like mismatched. Mismatch can be fun. For our chalice lighting, unless there's another announcement.
Could I do one?
Please, I thought there might be one percolating somewhere.
Hey, Jeff's back. Next week's service, genealogy with Jerry, or what does genealogy have to do with religion? We're doing 2 songs. We Are Family, and Searching. I've been searching. We would love to have people sing with us. And you know, it's going to be in the spirit of Bob Dylan. If you can't sing good, sing loud. So please see me. I'll give you lyrics and anything else you need today. Practice at 9:30 next Sunday. Thank you.
I am going to be reading the chalice lighting, and I'll invite Janet to come up and light the chalice. If you come up, yeah, that'd be great. These words are from Christine Robinson. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, with gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope. This is the sign of our quest for truth and meaning in celebration of the life we share together. first hymn is the universal greeting, and we have lots of good help with that this morning.
The universal greeting is one that I am trying to encourage us all to learn. And I'll do a quick run through. And there's also hand gestures to this. If you're comfortable doing them, that's great. If you're not, that's okay. And I'll just teach the song first. I'm going to do the first 3 lines and just I'll repeat the 3 lines, then you repeat what I just sang, and we'll take it apart from there. So this goes. I offer you peace. I offer you friendship. I offer you love. Repeat just that part. I offer you peace. I offer you friendship. I offer you love. Then we go on. I hear your needs. I see your beauty. I feel your feelings. One more time on those 3 lines. I hear your needs. I see your beauty. I feel your feelings. A little bit of a change here. My wisdom flows from a higher source. Let's repeat that line. My wisdom flows from a higher source, and I salute that source in you, in you, in you. Let's work together. Great. So we're going to sing that through twice. And the very last bit, which says, I hold the wisdom within, that's a repeat of the last 4 lines of the first part. So it's not a new melody, but we'll go through the first part twice, then sing, I hold the wisdom within, and end on that.
If you're like me, you can't remember all those directions, so just follow along and it'll be just fine. Do you want
Okay.
people to rise?
Hmm?
Do you want people to stand or just? Would you
As they
rise as you're
wish.
able in body or spirit, or both?
Okay, well, it's not.
And some of us can only do one thing at a time, so if you just want to sing, that's fine, or if you just want to do songs. I know, it's sometimes hard.
Here we go. I offer you peace. I offer you friendship. I offer you love. I hear your needs. I see your beauty. I feel your feelings. My wisdom flows from a higher source. I salute that source in you, in you, in you. Let's work together. Back to the top. I offer you peace. I offer you friendship. I offer you love. I hear your needs. I see your beauty. I feel your feelings. My wisdom flows from a higher source, and I salute that source in you, in you, in you. Let's work together. Last part. I hold the wisdom within. All I need is to believe. I hold the wisdom within. All I need is to believe, is to believe. Thank you, everyone. That was very nice.
You're a wonderful chorus. And a chorus line as well, so you are both. The call to worship, if I am right, you have an insert that starts, it says Unitarian Universalist values during conflict. Do you have that? On the back, it's not an insert, on the back. This is based on the work of Reverend Ken Hurto, who was a mentor and a colleague of mine for many years. I'm going to start by reading that these premises are distinctive to our faith, and they matter. We Unitarian Universalists seek, first bullet, would you join me? Not just to affirm and promote in the abstract, but to respect one another's dignity actively in all our encounters. Number two, to accept one another as growing persons, neither perfect nor jerks. To believe that each of us has some part of the truth, and rarely, if ever, does any one of us have the truth in its entirety. To believe that a congregation exists to serve a greater good. To be responsible agents, that whatever the divine may be, we are its hands. Thank you. I apologize that we did not have the large print available when it was needed. Next time. So Together Time is a story. I wrote a book. Asher, do you want to see? See if I can tempt them. Come on back, you happy people. I have a book. Come on back. Here they come. Hello, you children online. I have a book. It's a good thing I don't make a living on writing books, but here it is. Thank you, it's a clip. So, this book is called, can you read it? I'm Right. Me, I'm right. Can you say that together really loud? I'm right. Ooh, you're very good at that. Okay, and here's me with my glasses and my astounding intellect. And I am looking at something, and I look at it and I say, wow, that looks like a rope. Can you see that? How it might look like a rope? Okay. So then somebody else comes along who's wearing a gorgeous purple hat. And that person says, actually, I'm right. Oh, you're saving me. Yay, worship team. Saving me from my creative self. So this person with a beautiful purple hat says, actually, I'm right. I am looking at the same thing. Now I sound loud. Okay. Loud enough to be really right. And what I see in my purple hat is a fan. Does that look like a fan? Sort of, kind of. It's a fan, you know, I could use it as a fan, but that's what I see. I'm the purple person. Okay, so then another person comes along who has curly purple hair, which is me in the morning, okay? Or somebody else who's looking at the same thing. They're looking at the same thing, can you imagine? And what this person sees is a tree. Does that kind of look like a tree? Yeah, it kind of looks like a tree. How can they be looking at the same thing if it looks like a tree, a rope, and a fan? How could that be? Well, another person comes along who has a mustache. And that person looks at the same thing, and what they see is a snake. All right, this is crazy. How can one person look at, or four people look at the same thing and see something different? What do you think? Go ahead, Asher. Did everybody hear that? Asher just said they're looking at different parts of the same thing. Yep. That makes it important that every single one of us shares what it is. Now, I might need some help if somebody's willing to come forward. See, we've got all these different things. Here's the rope. Maybe, I don't. Okay, so there's a rope. And here's a snake. Uh-huh. I bet you're gonna guess before I'm done. Can anybody guess all these different parts of the same thing? What? A water slide. Okay. Now what do you see? Oh, it's an elephant. All right. So we all run into lots of trouble when we're looking at the same thing and we see something different and we don't believe the other person is right. So what we need is a little bit of curiosity to find out what everybody's thinking. We all survived. It's an elephant. Roughly. It's roughly an elephant. So often our conflicts come from the fact that we see differently and we don't believe each other, or we feel reactive to each other. So what I'd like to do is a reading from Mark Nepo. I have read from this person multiple times. I think some of you already read Mark Nepo. What he writes is this, and Johnny, this is where it felt similar to the poem you wrote. Early in my life, he wrote, I learned to protect myself, and this meant that I became very good at catching things. In fact, I never went anywhere without my catcher's mitt. No matter what came at me, nothing could surprise me. And while this saved me from the unpredictable assaults of my family, and even helped me in my odyssey through cancer, it eventually had a life of its own. Everything, birds, women, friends, truth, was intercepted by me by the quick reflex of my catcher's mitt. Eventually, nothing got through. And the very thing that helped me survive was now keeping me from being touched. The softness and the wonder of the world was vanishing from my life. I began the long and painful process of putting my mitt down, of regaining choice about when and how to protect myself. I began to realize that letting life in was a deeper way to survive. I began to experience an amazing thin lining of breath. This is what really caught my imagination. Beneath this line of breath leaves the deepest impulses of our heart, a true and genuine response to what's happening in the world. And above this, where we reflect, we catch things before they get to us. We do this for emotional survival, and it's a pattern that we carry. And so if we're able to breathe so that the thin line is right near our hearts, and perhaps we can breathe into our hearts and find that space, find that experience that is true and unique to who we are. This sermon, the whole service, is about staying at the table through conflict. And I guess I'm going to start by saying there are conflicts that are not fair. There are conflicts that are dangerous, where one really must do something to save ourselves or to protect ourselves. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about the kind of conflict that surfaces when community comes together and we disagree, or there are, in cultures that have been around a while, there are hidden rules that a newcomer doesn't see until they step on them or trip over them, and then people get offended and you don't know why. There are all kinds of things that can cause us to react in ways that are shut down. And so the conflict that I'm talking about is the conflict that if we were able not to shut down, we might actually move through into something new, something not the old pattern, something creative. It's so important in beloved community that we not only believe in the dignity of every person, but as it's written in that statement that I had you read with me, that we need to act on that belief in each person's dignity and believe that there is something in that person that is important for us to hear. Welcome. I learned from the Quakers for the 5 years that I attended Quaker meeting that everyone sees life from a different perspective, like the elephant and its parts. We should expect and value those differences. And in fact, according to the Quakers, in each person's perspective, there is that of God. And we need to hear those differences. It's so important in beloved community that we not only believe in the dignity and worth, but that we learn how to conflict with one another. That doesn't sound like beloved community, but it is. If we say we want to be in beloved community, we need to be able to surface the grain on our differences and be patient enough to not jump out with our mitt and stop what's being said or control what's being said and listen. So we need to sit with conflict. We need to sit with discomfort. And I think that's true in relationships. That's true in families. That's true in life. It may take all of our experience, all of our perspectives, our ideas together to build a beloved community. I believe that's true with all my heart. And in fact, any habit that we may have that tends to stop the flow of sharing creates the possibility that important ideas will be shut down, excluded, marginalized into silence. That means that some of the habits we have developed, some of the rules, some of the reactions to stress and conflict will not help us move toward beloved community. Avoiding conflict tends not to help us move toward beloved community. Of allowing ourselves to jump in thinking we can fix whatever conflict surfaces does not tend to help us move toward beloved community. Many things are not fixable, but we need to evolve. Arguing in order to change a person's mind or tell them the right way to think will not necessarily move us toward beloved community. So building beloved community, being in loving relationship requires some skills that we can practice to help us transform what we can find unhelpful or even toxic in our habits. And I want to focus on just two of those transformational skills: curiosity and breath. Curiosity and breath. You see curiosity all over this building. It's a central spiritual task to be curious. To be curious is more spacious, even gracious and holy. It's a stance that can allow what's new and unexpected to come. Expecting that there will be different approaches, that new ideas may come from those unexpected places, opens us individually and in community to inspiration. So during the workshop after this session, I'll talk more about a couple of frameworks: managing polarities, complete opposites, and also how to create powerful questions that keep us out of a quagmire of a quarrel and into something more creative. So simple curiosity can be a tool to allow an inclusive process, bring in more voices, make more space for something new. Simple curiosity can invite inspiration and create evolution. That's what we're needing, evolution. We need this evolution. We need all the creativity we can get to figure out how to end racism, to figure out how to live without fossil fuel, to stop climate change. We've got to figure out how to be in conflict so we can learn all that there is to learn from one another and how to live. We need to be curious to learn how to help every person know that they belong, and in fact, important, really important for the life of a community in order to be healthy and strong. So, simple curiosity. And one example of our Unitarian Universalist faith community I've mentioned in the past because it was such a huge juncture in our Unitarian Universalist history was in the second half of the 20th century when something called the Black controversy rose, meaning that Black Unitarian Universalists were finding their voice, finding each other, seeing, coming up with an analysis to help them understand what in Unitarian Universalism was keeping people from being included and in authority. And so our Black leaders were rising and at a particular event asked and spoke strongly in favor of financing real resources, real support for the development of Black Unitarian Universalists and people of color. And at the then white majority froze, panicked, got reactive, not enough. And we still grieve to this day the loss of many Black Unitarian Universalists because our community didn't know how to deal with conflict. We shut it down. We can't do that. So in the last 10 years, leaders have been working at opening the process to help marginalized voices step into the center to be heard. Women, Black Unitarian Universalists, youth and young adults, Indigenous people, people of color, people living with disabilities, and people who identify as trans, binary, lesbian, gay, bisexual, those who have been marginalized culturally and in our faith. What we have now is a proposal to change the stated principles which are beloved. We have 7 principles. This congregation has 8. They are beloved. And The voices from the margin have told us over time that they exclude. And many of us as Unitarian Universalists have been clenching, have not been able to respond with curiosity to find out, why are people saying this about something that I so love? And then listening to the stories that got us to this place. So now we'll be talking about this for the rest of the spring on and off. We have a proposal that is an insert. I don't see it in your lap, so it's on the table, but it is a revisioning of our Unitarian Universalist values. And my hope for us as a faith in the world is to be able to be in deep conversation so we understand, so we can be curious, so we can hold the vast differences of reality and truth within our single faith, and we can make room for it all. So, Another thing that I would like to say, because I'm so mindful of my own history and the history of so many of you, where it was not safe to stay at the table. It was just not safe. And that for your own well-being, it was important to walk away. It was important to create boundaries. I'm talking about domestic violence. I'm talking about all kinds of abuse that happen within families and in job situations. There are many situations in which each and every one of us really needs to figure out what it means to advocate or at least act on your own well-being. And when we're able to stay, when we're safe enough to stay present with the discomfort, that's when we can begin to exchange real ideas. So, caring for our safety and our well-being. How do we allow ourselves to remain uncomfortable long enough for inspiration to break through? So one answer to that, one possibility to that, is mindfulness meditation. And what I have learned in the business world is called getting on the balcony, where what you're doing is paying attention to your own mind, watching when your mind tells you a story. Oh boy, this person is boring. Oh no, they're going to give me the same old stuff. Or I hate what you stand for. Any number of things, the stories that we have in our minds before someone even opens their mouths, keep us from developing a deeper community. Meditation, training ourselves to watch our thoughts and not necessarily believe everything we think. You've heard that. I have a sticker on my refrigerator door to remind myself I don't have to believe everything I think. It's good advice. We allow space for something different to evolve, perhaps for inspiration to break through. And I will share with you that 20 years ago, I was in a relationship that no longer exists, but it was a long-term relationship. And we had been going through this routine of argument that was exhausting. And just by chance, it had nothing to do with my being smart or wise. I started meditating, and I happened to meditate right before one of our arguments. We were walking in a field, and the argument started to crank up. And I had this vague sense of a practice. And instead of jumping back into the fray, I asked a question. And literally, my partner stopped walking, turned and faced me, and she said, "What did you just do?" Because, it was shocking, because we have been in such a pattern for so long that creating space inside the pattern it just jolted us right out of that pattern. So we're no longer together, but we did learn a tremendous amount. And there is something in what Mark Nepo says that I shared with you earlier, something about creating space by breathing. So there's this possibility of a balcony in your mind where you can actually look down at the conflict and think, I wonder what's going on here. What is happening that we're doing this again? Or in a large conversation that seems to be hurting, then to get on the balcony in your mind and wonder, what is happening here? What is happening? And to be able then to ask a question that helps people take a breath and begin to see each other, perhaps with more truth. So making more room in our hearts for curiosity can be an extraordinary strategy inside a worn and a toxic argument or process. So breathing down to the thin line around our hearts is not something that I've really thought of doing before I read Mark Nepo. And I started to try to do that. And I guess I want to invite you to just be curious and take a moment or two without me speaking to just experiment with what it means. And if it helps, you can think of yourself in a conflict, but I wouldn't recommend that. But what it means to you to breathe, not just for oxygen, but to breathe for space. Breathe for space around what is emotionally stressful. Breathe for space so that you can be patient with your reactivity and the old patterns, and then you can go deeper into your core, into what your heart is really saying. When we breathe, we make love more possible. When we breathe, we make love in action more possible. When we breathe, we can find the space in ourselves to quiet our own participation, our own anxious response, our own anger, our own frustration, and find a way to open to something different. May we be a learning community. May we be a practicing community, moving closer to beloved community and the world we hope to live in and leave our children's children with more love in it. May that be so for us all. Blessed be, and amen. The next hymn, many of you know, so you don't have to even open your hymn books. You may not want to open your hymn book and just hum, but it is hymn number 388, Dona Nobis Pacem, Give Me Peace.
Sorry, I can see that it's a teal hymnal. Or no, it isn't. I'm sorry.
No.
I'm sorry.
Most of you know it, anyway. Trust me, you probably
Dona
don't need
Nobis
the
Pacem.
hymnal.
Some do, some don't. Why don't you sing it through once and people will know whether they need a hymnal or not.
I'm going to sing it through once, then if you'll notice the Dona Nobis Pacem, you've got numbers 1, 2, and 3 on our page. But basically, if you don't want to worry about anything like that, just Dona Nobis Pacem, the words go twice, and then the melody switches. Goes twice, and then the melody switches.
Follow along, you'll be fine.
And I'll just sing the whole thing by myself once, so you can refresh your memories about how it goes. Dona nobis pacem pacem, Dona nobis 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 pacem. This half of the room join me. Middle will be second,
Middle, me.
and third, everyone else. Dona nobis pacem, pacem. Dona nobis 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 pacem, pacem. Dona nobis 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 pacem.
Please be seated. Beautiful. Would you join one another in the spirit of prayer or meditation? Sit in a way that is comfortable for you. Consider breathing again. Breathing in a way that your heart feels that nourishment. As we breathe in, may we know a breath that can help us be well, that can support our well-being. As we take another deep breath, let it touch our hearts and then send it out as love to a struggling world. And in another breath, we know that when we leave here, we take the love of this congregation with us and the strength of our collective values to learn when it is our turn to take one more step towards beloved community and right action in the world. May that be so for us all. Blessed be, and amen. We'll collect this morning's offering as we listen to beautiful music.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change, life from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time now that we lead into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change, alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves down to the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
If you would read from your order of service the words to extinguish our chalice as I do just that. I love those words. It is time now. It is time for us to go to the well, to replenish ourselves and each other. It's time. What a time to be alive, to be who we are authentically, and to learn to live in peace. May it be so. Let's be. Amen.
Gonna keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Never turning back. Never turning back. Gonna keep on moving proudly. Keep on moving proudly. Keep on moving proudly. Never turning back. Never turning back. Gonna keep on singing loudly. Keep on singing loudly. Keep on singing loudly. Never turning back. never turning back.
Gonna keep on loving boldly.
Keep on loving boldly. Keep on loving boldly. Never turning back. Never turning back.
Gonna stop these wars together.
Stop these wars together. Stop these wars together. Never turning back. Never turning back.
Enjoy each other's company, enjoy some refreshments. At noon, those of you who would like to be part of a conversation about working with polarities and asking powerful questions, come join me in the rooms across the hall. Go in peace.